Now,
Correct.
failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris, she is back. She's been on her media blitz promoting her new book, 107 Days, and she's, of course, been on MSNBC and The View. And I found this interaction with all the left-wing View hosts on there. They were all grieving about the election result. It was a bit of group therapy. Listen to this.
I grieved in a way that I have not since my mother died.
Wow.
And the pain was, it was not at all about losing a race. I knew what it was going to mean for the country. I was going to say for the family. And that's how I felt, for the country.
We all agree.
I knew what it was going to mean. But I knew. And all I could say over and over again is, my God, my God, my God. It was very difficult. I mean, I know many people experienced it in different ways.
Michael, every time I watch that, I'm sorry, I just can't stop laughing. It's so embarrassing. But is that really going to help her if she wants to run again?
Oh, my goodness. Get this. She's grieving for the country because they didn't have her as president. I mean, that is just the height of delusion. I mean, what would Kamala Harris have been like as president of the United States, dealing with Russia, dealing with the Middle East, dealing with everybody? I mean, she had... Look, let's be frank, she was the most vacuous candidate ever to run for the US presidency of either party, and there have been some bad ones. But seriously, you know, you look back and you think to yourself, what were the top 5 great policy ideas she had for America's future as president of the United States? The answer is no one could remember a single thing. It was all laughing, joking, silly comments she made about yellow buses and watermelons and all vacuous stuff, laughing and carrying on, saying we need to be woke. She was a terrible candidate, the worst ever. I tend to think she'll probably run again. I mean, why wouldn't she run? Why wouldn't she run? All her advisors who will need jobs will be asking her to run again. But boy, that is completely delusional. I mean, to think that the country is mourning her loss, Kamala, I don't think so. I'm sorry to say. I think you would have been a hopeless president. And thank goodness the American public didn't elect her.
I know. Well, it's interesting if she does run again. It might be a tougher time around for her. Here is CNN admitting that Kamala Harris is actually more unpopular than ever.
I would just say that if you want a messenger to go against Donald Trump, you could do far better as Democrats than Kamala Harris. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look at her net favorable ratings nationwide. You know, back in October of 2024, she was at -5 points. Not exactly great, but pretty close to the 0 mark, right? Pretty close to even. But now, down under she goes. She's at -13 points. That's an 8-point drop. Since the general election among the overall electorate, she is not well liked at this particular point. The American people, they don't want this. They don't want her. And get this, she's 37 points underwater with independents. If you can't win independents, you can't win the election. And the bottom line is, with those in the center of the electorate, those who are the most up for grabs, she is way, way, way underwater. She is definitely swimming with the fishes.
It's interesting, Michael. What do you make of that? Because Kamala Harris is kind of she's been out of the spotlight until recently. Now she's, of course, trying to promote her book. But I suppose a lot of Americans have had time to reflect on what she was like as vice president, what she was like during those 107 days while she was trying to run an election campaign. And they've realised she wasn't a good candidate.
No, look, and a lot of people think to themselves, who was signing all those pardons when Biden was president? What was she doing there? People look back, I think, now on the last couple of years of the Biden presidency, think that was just who was running the country. So what we know is this:
she was
disastrous on borders. Hey?
No, exactly to your point. The border czar, then pretending she wasn't the border czar. Donald Trump gets in and he managed to seal the border.
Correct, which I must say is an extraordinary achievement. Would she have bombed the nuclear facilities in Iran?
Of course not.
Would she have had a relationship with Putin where she would have tried to settle the war? And despite Trump's best efforts, if he wasn't able to settle it, no other candidate would have been able to settle it. Would he have been able to build a stronger relationship with Israel, the only functioning democracy in the Middle East? Would he have settled these other wars that he talked about, whether it's 4, 5, 6 or 7? Well, would she have been able to do any of that? I mean, she was a joke candidate that had no particular views on any subject except, we've got to be more woke. So she would have been a disastrous president. the independents, who are neither, one or the other, looking at her saying, she's not a serious candidate, she can't run next time. If she does, we're not going to vote for her, and which means more likely than ever that Gavin Newsom is going to step up and be the Democratic candidate.
Looking at other candidates who have been unsuccessful, Hillary Clinton, she's gone on MSNBC insisting that we have to stop demonising each other, only to then go on and say that most of the violent political rhetoric in this country is coming from the right. Listen to this.
We have got to stop demonizing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think most of that right now in our country's history is coming, from the right, coming from people who want to dominate. They want their point of view. Writing out slavery from history, that doesn't make it go away. We have got to stop with the finger pointing and the scapegoating.
I mean, you can't make this up, Michael.
I mean, words fail me whenever she appears. Let's look at this simple example. When Charlie Kirk, a great American hero, is assassinated, the supporters of Kirk peacefully mourn his passing. When Floyd was killed, the American left riot and burn cities in Portland, Oregon, and elsewhere. She talks about finger pointing. I mean, again, this is just delusional.
Yeah.
Some of these Democrats are just delusional in the way they look at America. They need to get out more, talking to more working class people. There's a reason that Trump won the election. There's a reason that Vance is favourite to win the next election. The Democrats are no longer appealing to the working middle class, the working class in America, who want peace, they want law and order, they want safe cities, they want secure borders, they don't want crime, they want employment, they want jobs. They do want America first. So all of these things Trump's talking about is why he got elected and why Vance will probably get elected. And for Hillary to sort of talk about the fact that it's the right, I think she means she can't mention Donald Trump's name, but when she says all these people who are trying to take control, I think she means Donald Trump. Yeah. Well, he beat her and he beat Harris. And I think America, despite whatever arguments you might have with Trump over things, America is the better place for solving some international crises and securing their own.
100%, absolutely. Now, Michael, I have to talk to you about Anthony Albanese and Donald Trump. They have finally met. They took a photo together at the UN. They managed to, of course, get this selfie. But Anthony Albanese is going to have to wait another month before he gets that formal meeting with Donald Trump. How's it going to go?
Well, it could be a draw, or it could be spectacularly bad, depending on the day. But look, Australians, sitting here, we suffered this incredible embarrassment, humiliation yesterday when Albanese met Trump finally, and took a selfie with him. And I couldn't help but thinking, it's like a young kid, getting a backstage pass at a concert, trying to get a photograph with the artist, the singer. Getting a photo and going home to mum and saying, look, I got a photo with the Bay City Rollers. It was a humiliation. And they had to put it on Instagram to show, look, I have had a meeting with Donald Trump. I mean, you can see how happy Trump was to be in that photo, by the way. But, I mean, this is just humiliating for Australia. Look, what we know is this. The American administration know that Albanese partly won his election here this year because he was anti-Trump. They know, the Trump administration know he's a left-wing former student activist. He's pro-Palestine. He's, heavily all on renewables, et cetera, et cetera. They know that the Australian ambassador, Kevin Rudd, has been a major critic of Trump, calling him a threat to democracy, et cetera. I mean, the American administration know that this Labor government in Australia is very opposed to the American administration and everything they're doing, or nearly everything they're doing. And I think that's why Trump's kept him waiting. And
of course. Let's
just hope for Australia's sake that the meeting isn't cancelled on the morning.
That wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. Anything can happen, as we know.
Correct.
Let's also look at what else we saw at the UN. And the daughter of Hollywood stars Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner delivered a speech to the UN about the importance of mask mandates in preventing the spread of COVID-19. I can't believe I'm reading this. Violet Affleck actually lectured the world about how the world is ignoring the ongoing pandemic and claimed that mask mandates were dropped too quickly. Listen to this.
It is neglect of the highest order to look children in the eyes and say, we knew how to protect you, and we didn't do it. We have access to a technology to prevent airborne disease, something that millions of our ancestors and millions of people around the world today would kill for, and we refuse to use it. And I shudder to think of where we will be in another 5 years of unmitigated infection and reinfection.
Michael, should masks be coming back?
I don't think so. I think she needs to get out more. There are many dangers in the world. Airborne diseases is but one of them. There are thousands of ways that people can lose their lives, sadly, during their life, from car accidents, diseases, illness, wars, tragedies, mistakes, accidents. She can obsess about airborne diseases, and that's great. And she can wear a mask for the rest of her life. That's great. But I think she needs to get out more and realise that airborne diseases are probably not the greatest threat to humanity. She should perhaps start with poverty, wars, and diseases, malaria, etc. If she started with those, then people might take her a bit more seriously. But airborne diseases and wearing masks, perhaps not at the top of the list, Gab.
It's hard to take her seriously. I think, or as someone who lived in Melbourne throughout 2020, it's a little bit triggering seeing masks and even hearing the words mask mandates come back. And just this week, Victoria's former Chief Health Officer, Brett Sutton, admitted that many of the insane measures intended to stop the spread of COVID were probably never necessary. And of course, Melbourne residents spent, almost 300 days in lockdown, and Brett Sutton called that period a horror show, and he wouldn't be drawn on what kind of measures he meant that weren't necessary. But of course, we lived through it. I mean, it was absolutely insane. Children's playgrounds were closed. We couldn't go beyond 5 kilometres from our homes. There was a curfew that was never based on health advice. I mean, it's pretty frustrating after being put through so much. So many people had their businesses closed. There's a whole mental health crisis after what we all went through during COVID. To hear now that actually some of the measures weren't necessary at all.
Yeah, and he was one of the principal problems during that period. We had these extreme measures, as you say. I remember playing golf one day. On the limited days you were able to play golf, you had to wear a mask on the golf course. Seriously? Outdoors, surrounded by, fresh air and open space. To play golf, you needed a mask, and you weren't allowed to touch the pin because it might be carrying the COVID virus as well. And we remember, stupid things, as you say, like the playgrounds. I mean, it was so extreme here, and it was not based on medical advice, and that's why Victoria is still suffering. Years later, Victoria is still suffering. Many small businesses went bankrupt during that period because people weren't allowed to go to cafes, etc. We were allowed out 1 hour a day. We were allowed out 1 hour a day to go for a walk. I mean, the whole thing was an extremist lockdown by the Andrews government here, and Victoria, as I said, is still suffering from this extreme overreaction to the COVID virus.
Just finally, before I let you go, I'm not sure if you're a Harry Potter fan, Michael, but it's been reported that HBO are auditioning for females to play Voldemort in the upcoming rebrands. The highly anticipated series is set to hit streaming service in 2027. It's already started filming, and according to reports, HBO is auditioning for both men and women to play Voldemort. So it is possible that that could be what happens. I mean, what is it with all these woke remakes, Michael? Or what are your thoughts? Are you for this?
No, well, they don't work. I mean, you can't tangle with the greatness of film history. These were great characters, great stories. They live on, and these remakes where they're trying to contemporise them don't work. They destroy the magic of these great theatrical performances. So I think this is ridiculous to do this. These things don't work, by the way. People look at these things with derision and think that's just absurd. So it'll be money down the drain, and thank goodness we're not putting any money into these new productions, Gab.
Michael Kroger, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today.